Hello everybody, I'm Monica Maraschino, and I just want to talk about, stuff that us trans women got to deal with on an everyday basis, being trans and walking around in a straight society or whatever you want to call it. I identify as a straight transgender woman that likes men, and then I get guys like, well, I'm straight, well, I'm like, so am I. They don't get that, they don't get that. I feel like I am a female and that I identify as that, and I just gotta deal with the fucking ignorance by stupid ass people that don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. They won't read a book about people like me. They just want to assume and talk shit and think it's abnormal or whatever. Well, gays are more accepted than transgender people are. That's just a known fact. People are so hung up on, ooh, that's a dude, that's a guy, that's this, that's that. Let us live our motherfucking lives. I don't tell you, don't wear baggy jeans or wear a fucking mohawk or pierce your whole fucking body or tattoo your whole body. Let me live my life. I'm transgender. I bleed just as red as you. I have feelings, I'm hurting, People say, oh, it's not because I'm transgender, that they don't want to bother with me. That's bullshit. Because it certainly isn't because I'm a bad person, I just feel like people just have the wrong impression of me. I go to meetings and I'm like bottled up and I let everything bother me and, I stay to myself. I flip my hair because I'm nervous, but I'm told I'm rude. I'm not rude, I'm just really depressed. And it's like I'm scared to give people hugs because I feel like, that they don't really want to hug me. They're just doing it to save face. Like, they rather I'm not there. And that's how I feel, you can't change how you feel. You could just work on it, you know what I mean? I am just trying so hard to do the right thing. I'm going to a meeting tonight. I'm ditching my home group. I shouldn't do that, but I just, don't want to see the certain people. There's just shit that, is going on that, I'm really upset because a friend of mine I thought was my friend unfriended me, and, I guess, people just can't, help a person out when they're going through something. Instead of belittling them and tell them that I'm wrong and I'm this and I'm that, he just felt the need to unfriend me. That's not a true friend. He would say, oh, I love you, you're a good person, you're this. But then, he'd tell me that people are saying I'm rude and that I act like a diva. What tranny don't act like a fucking diva? Or flips out if somebody says something wrong to them. Look, I've been putting up with. I was involved in a hate crime when I first came out as being trans. I have been addicted to heroin, and I had to do awful things to get my drugs, and I overcame everything. But people still want to bring up my past, like they're better than me. That doesn't make you better. It just makes you look like a fucking asshole. I'm always getting the finger pointed at me that I'm wrong, I'm this, I'm that. Fuck you, fuck anybody that thinks that. I'm hurting. I don't know which end is up. I'm torn between, do I want to go to meetings and deal with some of these people, or do I want to keep going and just stick it to those motherfuckers and just keep going and kill them with kindness, and that'd be my way of getting back at them. I'm going for myself, because I ain't gonna stay clean if I keep letting shit bother me. I'm gonna eventually use, and I don't have no more runs in me. I don't. So, I don't have people that want to hang out with me, after the meeting. I see people in their cliques and, just like, when somebody passes away, that's a really terrible thing, and it's, I feel really terrible. We lost a lot of addicts in this process, due to like relapsing and overdosing, but some people, that were in their like little group, they would like go on and on like for weeks and months and stuff, and I understand it's your friend, and but think about all the other addicts that lost their lives to this horrible disease. It's great that you're mourning your loved one, you know what I mean? But there's so many more addicts out there that, okay, mourn your friend, but mourn all the others. Throw a balloon for all the other addicts that lost their lives to addiction. I wanted to say that, but I was afraid that I would be hated. I would be looked at like I'm an asshole more, So I just put my big fat foot in my mouth. But that's how I feel, I didn't know the guy. I have nothing negative to say, I feel terrible. But, he was in with all the whole crowd, and, I'm not. Would people mourn me if I passed away? If I went out and relapsed and died? I don't think so. I don't think nobody would give a flying fuck. That's just how I feel. People, been ignoring me. I would say things. I would make comments on Facebook. I would talk to them, and they wouldn't say anything, so I unfriended them. I got tired of the fake bullshit. If you don't like me, that's all. Okay? Don't bother with me. But don't say you're my friend and when you're really not, if you're not for me. I've been crying a lot over this bullshit, and, been worrying about what people think, and I know I can't control what people think, but this is bullshit, I need love, I need friends, I need people that are there for me. My best friend is in Pittsburgh. I can't always go to his house and have his shoulder to cry on, because he's always busy, and he lives in Pittsburgh, and that's